If you've ever studied frontline conditions in the Eastern Front, the Ardennes, or the mountain campaigns of Italy, you know one universal truth soldiers kept repeating in their diaries. The cold wasn't just uncomfortable, it was lethal. What kept a man alive some nights wasn't fire, shelter, or extra rations, it was knowledge. Real hard-earned tricks learned by soldiers who had no choice but to sleep on frozen earth with temperatures dropping well below what human bodies tolerate. And here, on The Prepper Historian, that's exactly what we're diving into. Because if there's one thing history gives us, it's solutions forged in conditions more brutal than most of us will ever face. So, before we get into the 8 hacks, it's worth remembering that every trick you're about to hear wasn't theory. It wasn't survival school material invented decades later. These were battlefield tactics devised by men trying to see the next sunrise, and many of them translate directly into modern wilderness survival. Now let's go straight into the real strategies soldiers used when the ground felt like stone and the air felt like knives. Soldiers relied on insulating layers beneath them more than blankets above them, because ground conduction kills warmth faster than wind. German, Soviet and American infantry all recorded the same method. Gather anything dry that could trap air between your body and the ground. Fir branches in the Ardennes, straw from abandoned farms on the Eastern Front, even loose brush and torn sandbags. Modern preppers can replicate this by prioritizing what goes under the body, leaves, pine needles, spare clothing, before thinking about blankets. A practical step-by-step application today is simple. When forced to sleep outdoors in freezing temperatures, invest your first 10 minutes into building thickness beneath you, not on top of you. Soldiers often said an inch of insulation below felt like 3 inches above. They warmed the sleeping area before lying down instead of trying to heat themselves afterward. World War II troops frequently used heated stones placed under greatcoats or blankets, not to touch directly, but to radiate warmth upward, long enough to fall asleep. In some cases, infantrymen used coals wrapped in several layers of cloth and buried shallowly under their bedding. Hunters and bushcrafters still use controlled stone warming today, and it works because it reduces the initial shock of lying on frozen earth. If you're applying this in a modern context, always heat stones slowly and test them with a gloved hand. If it's too hot to touch, it's too hot to sleep over. The method is old, but the physics haven't changed. They created micro windbreaks because stopping airflow mattered more than full shelters. Many World War II soldiers slept in shell scrapes, trenches or shallow pits, not for concealment, but simply to get out of the wind. Even a foot of soil on one side reduced wind chill dramatically. You can still use this today. If you're caught outdoors without a tent, carve out a shallow depression or position yourself against a natural barrier like a log or embankment. The key principle is stopping moving air from stripping your body heat faster than you can produce it. Soldiers knew that even a crude windbreak could mean the difference between waking up shivering and not waking up at all. They used their gear to create makeshift vapor barriers long before modern survivalists talked about them. Troops in Russia often slept with their outer coats over their legs or wrapped their boots in spare cloth to trap humidity inside rather than letting forced evaporation steal heat. It sounds counterintuitive, but trapping moisture keeps the body from losing temperature rapidly. A modern application is using a rain poncho or tarp layer inside your sleep system, not outside. Soldiers weren't thinking in scientific terms, they were reacting to what kept them alive. but the principle is the same. Stop your body's water from evaporating too quickly. They slept in pairs or in rotations to share warmth efficiently without risking deep cold exposure. American and British soldiers documented buddy sleeping during extreme cold snaps, especially in foxholes where each man's body heat cut the chill for the other. It wasn't comfortable, but it was effective. A practical modern use for this is when two people need to share limited insulation, sleep back to back or shoulder to shoulder, rotating positions every hour to keep circulation healthy. They kept their core warm by protecting the kidneys and liver area above everything else. Many soldiers stuffed rags, dry grass or spare cloth under their belts or into the small of their back. They learned quickly that if the kidneys got cold, the entire body followed. In survival use today, this translates into focusing your insulation on your torso first. Even with minimal gear, padding the kidney region will extend your body's endurance in freezing conditions. They learned to avoid sleeping fully still to prevent freezing from setting in. Diaries from the Battle of Moscow and Bastogne mention men shifting positions regularly, flexing toes or waking every hour to move blood through limbs. They slept with critical gear inside their clothing, so body heat kept it functional. Soldiers kept canteens, small rations, socks, and even weapon bolts under their greatcoats because frozen equipment was as dangerous as a frozen body. This translates directly to modern survival. Electronics, fire-starting tools and water filters all become useless when frozen. Keep them close, keep them warm, and they stay reliable. These 8 hacks weren't created in classrooms. They were carved out of necessity by men who faced nights colder than most of us can comprehend. And every technique is something you can practice today as both a historian and a prepper, keeping alive the knowledge that kept them alive. If you found this guide useful and want more hard, practical, history-backed survival lessons, make sure you subscribe to The Prepper Historian and share this video with someone who appreciates real historical insight.